If you have carbs pre-workout, you're going to turn into a watermelon, you won't get a pump, and all your gains will go away. It's just a fact. In reality, there are times that we can have carbohydrates and times that we shouldn't. And this is sort of the ever-evolving process with the ketogenic diet. We realize there are times when we can manipulate carbohydrate sensitivity so that we can get more out of them without actually knocking us out of keto. I mean, really, who wouldn't want the best of both worlds? But a common question that comes up, do we have our carbohydrates pre-workout to give us like a little bit of a boost during a workout, or should we have them post-workout in sort of a backloading carbohydrate like glycogen resynthesis sort of process? Well, we'll break it down because it turns out, well, you could do one or the other depending on what your goal is, or you could just forget it altogether because you don't actually need them. After this video, check out Thrive Market. By the way, if you're doing keto, you definitely want to check them out. Whether you're doing it for body composition or just for lifestyle, they have everything that you need. So when it comes down to getting your groceries delivered right to your doorstep, they make it super easy. I've been using them for years. My pantry is full of goods that I get from Thrive Market, and they just make it convenient. So I don't have to go to the grocery store. I can, a couple clicks of a button, figure out exactly what I need on whatever kind of diet I'm doing at that time, because it's all organized as such. And then I click a couple buttons and it comes to my doorstep. It is super easy, and there's a special link down below. And if you use that link down below, you can get a special gift when you sign up for Thrive Market. But also, they're a big supporter of this channel, and I just owe them a lot for making it possible to keep this channel rocking and rolling. So check them out down below in the description. Okay, I got to open up with a study that was published in the journal Metabolism. Okay, it compared people that were on a low-carb ketogenic diet compared to a standard diet. And they had them do some workouts. They had, in this case, they went for a long run. Okay, and then they measured their glycogen levels at the end of the workout. This is a relatively old study, and it's pretty well known in the keto community. But what they found is that those that went for the run with the regular diet, with carbohydrates, their glycogen levels were the exact same at the end of the workout as those that were on a keto diet. Now, glycogen levels, that's the storage form of carbohydrates in our muscle. So how on earth did people that were doing a ketogenic diet, how did they end up with equal amounts of stored carbohydrates in their muscles to those that eat carbohydrates day in and day out? Doesn't make sense. Well, it does, because the body's always trying to synthesize glycogen and create carbohydrates. So what happens is the people that are on the ketogenic diet, when they're working out, they have a gluconeogenesis that's happening at an accelerated rate, which means that that's taking extra amino acids, it's taking the glycerol backbone from fatty acids, basically all these extra random things, and it's turning them into carbohydrates to restock the muscles. It's pretty awesome. Okay, so it's called gluconeogenesis and glycogen synthesis, or resynthesis in this case. And then we have other things. They saw at the end of this study that lactate, which was a byproduct of working out, was much higher in the low-carb group. Lactate can convert via gluconeogenesis into carbohydrates and then, of course, get taken up into the cell, or it can go through what's called the Cori cycle. The bottom line is, one of these weird byproducts was making it so that it was equal amounts carbohydrates in the muscle between both groups, even if someone didn't eat carbohydrates. So what does this have to do with should I eat carbs pre or post workout? Well, it tells us that in order for actual recovery, it's not needed. You don't need to eat carbohydrates after a workout. But what we do want to look at is insulin sensitivity and insulin manipulation. You are extra insulin sensitive at the end of a workout, which means you may not need the carbohydrates in the way of glycogen, but you would get some benefit in having them spike your insulin high so that mTOR, mammalian target of rapamycin, goes very high and triggers anabolic signaling to be higher, thereby making your protein actually synthesize more. So if you finish your workout and you go have a protein shake, yes, some of that protein is going to get put to use. But there is also evidence that if you have even just 10 to 20 grams of higher glycemic carbohydrate, you can get a nice little added bonus by allowing those, of course, carbohydrates to put the protein to work and, at least based on my own anecdotal experience, barely, if at all, kick you out of ketosis. So that's kind of the best of both worlds. But again, full disclaimer, you don't even have to do that. In fact, protein synthesis stays elevated for 24 hours after a workout. So like, you could just wait a few hours to eat if you really wanted to. You're not going to waste away. But what about eating carbs pre-workout? Is there a practical application for that? My opinion is that would actually hinder some of your glycogen synthesis, and here's why. When you consume carbohydrates on a ketogenic diet, yes, you kick yourself out of keto or you spike insulin, which slows down the production of ketones, but you're also slowing down or stopping gluconeogenesis, which is the formation of carbohydrates from fatty acids or from amino acids. Once you have dietary carbohydrates in your system, your liver has no need to go through gluconeogenesis. So then what happens is the carbohydrates that are in your bloodstream are used immediately for fuel. Boom, 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 right? Okay, and then what's left is fatty acids. Well, those not gonna really go through gluconeogenesis in this given point in time. So if you're keto adapted, you're normally doing keto and you have carbs pre-workout, you might actually find that you have less glycogen after a workout than if you just didn't have carbs or anything at all before the workout. It's pretty wild. That being said, from a restoration and from a recovery standpoint, that seems to be true. But what about from a performance side? From a performance side, you might get some benefit by adding the carbohydrates in, simply because at that point, you are improving your glucose tolerance, you're improving your actual response with the glucose. There's something called sleep low training where they really tried this. They have people train at a very, very high intensity in a very deprived, like calorie deprived, carb deprived state. And then they, when it comes time to compete, have them add carbs in. This could work for you in the situation where, okay, I want to get my cells adapted to being glucose tolerant and maintain insulin sensitivity and be able to get a little bit of extra power. Are you going to get the muscle sparing effect and all the body composition effects that you would get by having carbs after? Probably not as much, but it's very much so performance related. One of the things that I want to throw at you as something to try based upon, again, my anecdotal experience and a hypothesis, is that glycerol, which is the fatty acid backbone or the backbone of the fatty acid. So when we release fat into the bloodstream, we have 3 fatty acids onto a glycerol backbone. Our body rips off those fatty acids, they go to the liver and get turned into ketones, and you're left with the glycerol molecule. This glycerol molecule can get converted into through gluconeogenesis into glucose, okay? That means that you can restore glycogen through just the fatty acid backbone. You can actually buy straight glycerol. You can buy glycerol just on Amazon and use that as a pre-workout. Additionally, it's an osmotic. It's going to draw water in. It's very, very powerful at that. So it creates sort of this muscle volumizing effect in addition to potentially being a fuel that gets converted via gluconeogenesis into something that will resynthesize glycogen. So I would encourage you, instead of having carbohydrates pre-workout, if you're looking for a pre-workout solution, go with glycerol, and then post-workout have carbohydrates, if that's your solution. As always, keep it locked in here on my channel, and I'll see you tomorrow.